I came into ministry under you in 2004, September of 2004, here at the time First Baptist Church of West Palm Beach, and served for 6 years. So, but around 2008, our pastor came in, Pastor Jimmy Scroggins, and he started this whole vision to, like Chuck said, to start 100 churches in the next 20 years. And, you know, when you hear that, you think it's aspirational, beautiful vision. That's great. If we start one or two, that'd be amazing. But you don't really think that it's going to start happening at the pace that it happened. And so I remember Chuck was his worship pastor for the first several years. And I left and went to a church up in Atlanta. And then when God called Chuck to go and do something at a seminary, Pastor Jimmy called me and said, "Hey, man, we want you back." So I came back in 2011. I came back here. And at the time, we had launched our first campus. So the church was a multi-site, but really it was just the downtown campus and one campus up in a northern area here called Abacoa. And man, I just came into something that I didn't understand. I mean, I didn't know how to run two campuses. I knew how to run two services in one campus, but I didn't know how to run two campuses. But what I decided to do early on, because even when I came in with one campus already launched, they were already talking about launching the next campus that was out in the western communities here from where we are. We're all the way east, beautiful east coast of the United States. And so we decided, all right, so the third campus is coming. What are we going to do and how we're going to set this up? And I just want to start by telling you this, that I basically just focused on discipleship, and a lot of it was, how can I help the men and women that are coming under my care? How can I help them take the next steps spiritually? And so I want to kind of walk you through some of the things that I learned. I would just want to say, with all humility, at this point, even though I've been doing this for a while, I do not consider myself like I know everything about this. These are just the lessons that I've learned so far. And in your ministry context will be different. And so you just got to understand that. So for us, the experiences that I had were that I really had to sort of change the way that I was thinking about ministry, right? Usually when you think about music ministry, you're leading worship at a church, you're planning worship, you're doing all those things, and all those things are still happening. And I'm going to explain a little bit about our model later on. But at the same time, you just have to think, how do I invest my life into these new worship pastors and worship leaders? And so I just want to tell you and kind of give you a few pointers as to what I've learned in multi-site ministry. And here's the first one. And I think, I don't know, Chuck, if you got it, but we have sent out some paperwork and some things for you guys to follow along. So you have them. Okay, perfect. So the first one is this, is that multi-site ministry is a discipleship program. Basically, multi-site ministry is a discipleship program. And, Matthew 28, Jesus came and said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make what? Make disciples," right? And a lot of times I think, down here in South Florida, we have the nations here gathered, people from all over the world. So go therefore and make disciples of all nations. Yeah, no problem. I got them right here. So my worship leaders are from Brazil, they're from India, they're from Haiti, they're from Puerto Rico, they're from Mexico, they're from, you name it, they're from everywhere. And so I'm just really grateful. But the first thing is that multi-site ministry is a discipleship program, and spiritual development is key. Honestly, this is your responsibility. Your team should be better Christians and understand the truths of the Bible better by the end of the time under your care. And if that's not happening, then you're going to see the issues with that as your ministry continues to grow. So this sets a really strong foundation that the most important thing that we're trying to do is develop. What happens is that a lot of times when we start building multi-site ministry, the other way that you can think about it is that you are just, hiring employees. And so, yeah, and it's true, you are. And you're going to have to manage these employees, obviously. But if you think that that's the main thing, and you're just going to tell them what's right and what's wrong and how to do it and how not to do it and how they should do it the way that you do it, That shouldn't be your focus. At least that was my experience. Um, Really, MultiSite Ministry is a discipleship program. And so the first one is that spiritual development is a key. But the other one is that you want to create a family environment. And I put here that money is not the only currency. Okay. You have relationships, right? You have and the enjoyment of being there, the environment, the fulfillment and personal growth. All these things really could help make up for the smaller salary scale. Let me just kind of pause there and talk about that. When you're launching a multi campuses, at least in our model, we don't have infinite resources. So like a lot of times you're hiring part-timers. Actually, when we started, all we hired was part-timers. So how do you get somebody that's quality, get them in, pay them very little, and then ask a lot out of them? Okay. Well, you got to provide something more than just money. Money, as you know, money is not really a great motivator. A lot of these other things like relationships, like the environment, like are they actually enjoying what they're doing? Are they getting fulfillment? Are they growing spiritually, growing personally? All those things are currency, and they will help you kind of take your ministry and the multi-site ministry forward. So I would encourage you, create a family environment. And this is actually one of the most beautiful aspects of having a team like the one that we have. Actually, right now, during this time, our team is meeting. We're having our worship staff meeting, and we have about 16 different people in that meeting, between musical directors and all of our worship leaders and everybody else. They're all in that meeting just talking about what's going to happen for the next week. I'm missing it. Usually I run that meeting, but I wanted to spend this time with you. So, but we create a family environment. That's super important. Here's another thing. Give your team experiences that will mark them for the rest of their lives in ministry. Honestly, give them the experiences that they will always remember and cherish. I always say that I want my team to think about the first time they did blank, whatever it is. They did it here at Family Church, with Pastor Christian and Pastor Jimmy. Take them on retreats, write music together, record albums, do whatever it takes to give them experiences that they will never forget. And you think about the disciples as they were following Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, come and follow me. What Jesus was doing, Jesus was giving them some experiences that these guys who were, they were fishermen and whatever, they weren't getting. They were just out there on a boat, and now they're feeding 5,000 people out of one little basket, and they're seeing people be healed. And Jesus was giving them some experiences that will mark them for the rest of their lives. And I think in a lot of ways, if we think about it that way, I think it's a great way of developing the team, rather than what can they do for me and what can they do to make this great, is what can I do for them to give them the experiences that will mark them for the rest of their lives. And I always think that usually these experiences will mark them for ministry that's in the future that might not even be here. So we need to be thinking that a lot of what we're doing is building the kingdom of God, not our kingdom right here. So it's not for us. We're building these people so that when they go out of here, they can go and minister better, and they can do the same things, or at least similar things, than what we did here. They did it with the same heart. So you want to give them experiences that will mark them for the rest of their lives. So another thing is that proximity matters. And look, we have campuses as far away as an hour and 15 minutes from this campus. Actually, if you take the polar opposite campuses here, you're probably talking about an hour and 40, from each one. And this is hard. We drive, we do whatever it takes just to be together. Now, this is not always possible. You might have, a campus, and for us, it's going to get to a point that it's not going to be possible. But proximity is important as long as you can have it, because it's really hard to develop relationships if you're not close. You just have to be together. Zoom, as much as I like it, and I'm thankful for the technology, it's just not good enough to develop relationships. So if possible, then try to be close to one another. Now, I will say this, that if you're not able to do that, then as the leader, you need to be okay with maybe regionalizing your team. And so we're in the process of doing that now, where we have identified hub leaders for different areas in the area that we minister, and just going like, hey, you're over these 4 guys. Hey, you're over these 5 guys, and that way they can have relationships built together, and then I can meet with all the regional leaders and just kind of work it that way. But you want these teams to be tight. You want these people to feel like that they have a family within here. So proximity matters. So all those things. Discipleship. A multi-site ministry is really a discipleship program. That's the first thing. Here's the second thing. A multi-site ministry is a recruitment program. Okay. And some of you might be like, well, I'm not good at recruiting. Well, when you're in need, the Lord gives you the ability to do so. And this is one of the things that I say, you're always in recruiting mode. This never stops for the leader of a multi-site ministry. You have to learn to play long ball with relationships in order to connect them to your ministry in the future. Honestly, most recruitment of quality individuals happens over an extended period of time. Learn to not dismiss people, but rather develop a relationship and see if the Lord allows for it to turn into a ministry relationship in the future. I always say that timing and opportunity and right personnel, they don't always match. So you might have the right opportunity and you might have the right person, but it might not be the right time, either for them or somehow, or it might be the right timing with the right person, but the right opportunity is not available. So you need to learn to play long ball. You always have to be in recruiting mode. I will say that some of the people we actually have on our team now are people that had said no to offers in the past. But like when they said no, I didn't go like, you know what, you're dead to me. That's not how we did it. I just said, man, I totally understand. Hopefully the Lord will allow us to be partners in the future. How about we stay connected? And I would contact these people and talk to them and call them, how you doing? How are things going? And years later, these relationships panned out and they were able to become part of our team. So I would just encourage you, always be in recruiting mode, always be thinking long ball, down just future. Another thing is that it's a recruitment program, so you have to develop a strong vision, right? And you have to share it often. And I would say that you want to always be sharing your vision, okay? For us here at Family Church, our vision was threefold. We always said that Family Church worship under the umbrella of the gospel is going to plant 100 churches, and we're going to focus on beautiful, wonderful, life-transforming Sunday morning services. That was kind of our first thing. We're going to focus on worship leader training, then we're going to focus on ministry outside the walls. And we did that threefold. So Sunday morning services was our main thing, worship leader training, and ministry outside the walls. The ministry outside the walls was the videos and recordings of things that would ultimately attract new talent, so that we could be training them and do worship leader training, so that then we can place them and plant 100 churches. And so, that was our vision. And I would share that everywhere I would go with everybody. And I would share it often. But you don't only want to do that. When you share that with people, you also want to make sure that you're celebrating the things that are happening in their churches. So a lot of times I would go with friends that work here now, but they were working somewhere else before, or they weren't sure if they had a calling for ministry, but they were at a church that they were serving. I would tell them my vision, but then celebrate what God was doing in their ministries as well. I think, God is doing a wonderful thing in many different places. It's not just in our place, and we have a lot to learn from other ministries. So I would share it in humility, and then let's celebrate together. So develop a strong vision, share it, and also celebrate with others. Another thing is that as a recruitment program, you want to develop a robust internship program. I just can't tell you. By the way, I'm flying through this because I have a lot. I don't have much time, but I just can't tell you how many people we have hired from our internship program. This summer, we're going to bring over 100 interns into our church. And the guy that has to work on finding housing for all of them, I don't envy his job, but I'm grateful that he does it. And all these interns will come here, and this has been key for us as we expand our pool, our network, through the relationships developed in the internship. Make sure this internship allows for the young people involved to do meaningful ministry that showcases their abilities. Okay. This is a 6 to 8 week interview process. Basically, you get to interview them for these 6 to 8 weeks. Don't just have them file papers. Now, look, there's some of them that come with the wrong heart, and you got to put them to file papers all summer long. Okay. But I'm just telling you, in a multi-site ministry, you're going to need to start deploying people a little sooner than if you were in a single site ministry, because single site ministry, usually your positions are very few and far between, and you only have a few. But in multi-site, you have many positions that need to be filled constantly. So utilize your internship basically as an interview process, 6 to 8 week interview process for them. So to have them do things that are meaningful, and don't forget that they're interviewing you for their future as well. So give them an experience that they will feel like, man, this is the best experience I have had in a long, long time. I can't wait to be hired by Family Church one day, or to just go down and serve a family church. A lot of times I get phone calls from interns that were with us in the past, and they were like, hey, Pastor Christian, I really want to serve a family church. I was like, great, move down here, get a job somewhere else, and start serving at one of our locations. And when something opens up, I'll consider you. You'll be one of the first people that I consider. And so they've done that. And you know what? We hire them. But they have to take the step. But they wanted to, because during the internship program, they were also interviewing us for their future. And they knew we were the type of church they wanted to be a part of. So make sure they leave your internship with a strong desire to return to your church to work and serve. Okay? Super, super important. Make sure you do that. This is a great opportunity for you to interview them, and also for them to interview you. So develop a robust internship program. So, multi-site ministry, it's a discipleship program, first of all. It's a recruitment program. You're always in recruitment mode. I'm telling you, wherever you go, wherever I go, I'm always like, hey, so tell me about yourself. What's up? Where you at? What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Just because I want to know if we could partner in the future. Very important. Here's another thing. Multi-site ministry is an employee retention program. Okay. And you're like, okay, well, that's interesting. Wow. Well, I will say that, let me say it by putting it here. Keeping your team members is just as important as recruiting new ones. Guys, I can't tell you just how important this is. Your ability to retain team members long-term will add stability and strength to your ministry team. It is always better, easier, and cheaper to keep an employee than to bring somebody else new. Okay? It's better, it's easier, it's cheaper to keep them than it is to replace them and bring somebody new. This is where your relationship needs to be open with your team members. Allow them the room and security to share with you if they're planning to leave. Okay? This shouldn't be taboo in your team. Okay? Like, they shouldn't be like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, to somebody else. They should be coming to you, and you should open the door and be okay and give them the confidence and the security they need to actually share that, and you not dismiss them and go like, well, then pack up your things. You're out of here in a week. No. You should offer to help them launch out or help them stay. Like I always offer, hey man, how can we help you launch out? But let me tell you, I would love to keep you here. What can I do? What can we do as a church to keep you here? Because you're valuable to us. We'd love to keep you. So people are not betraying you by leaving. That's not what they're doing. They're not betraying you. Everybody has a time to depart from a team. So your job is to try to extend that time as much as possible. I'm telling you, a lot of times, I think as a young leader, I was like, whatever, you don't want to be with me, that's it, you're out of here. We're like, that I learned over time, that's the worst thing you can do. Sometimes the best person to do the job is the person you currently have. Okay. We always start thinking, well, oh man, I could probably get somebody else in here. They'll be way better because I wouldn't have to deal with blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, you're going to have to deal with the other blah, 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 blah from the other person, anyways. It's going to cost your church thousands of dollars to get this person out and get the other one in. Plus, the congregation they're leading, they have to get used to this person again. And I mean, it's like, I'm telling you, the disruption that it does to your team is just not worth it. If you can keep the team members that you have, it'll be better for your team, for the worship ministry that you're leading. It'll be better for the church as a whole. MultiSite Ministry, a lot of it is an employee retention program. Give the opportunity and allow your team to be able to come and speak to you and kind of share with you like, hey, I feel God is moving me. God is moving me somewhere else. And I feel my heart detaching from here. Man, that's okay. That's okay. Tell me more about it. I usually encourage. I even start the conversations with our team, not like I'm gonna fire you, but like, for example, I have a guy who's a phenomenal musical director. He works with us part-time, and he plays piano with us, and he's been an incredible asset for us. He's been with us for like 6-7 years. And the other day I go to him and I go like, hey man, like, what are you planning with your life? Like, you're not just gonna play piano here for the rest of your life, right? And he's like, well, I never really thought about it. I was like, well, it's time for you to start thinking about it, that maybe God is calling you to do something else. And if that means that you're not on our team, I would hate it, but I need the best for you. Maybe you need to go and get your master's, or maybe you need to experience something else, or maybe you need to, what are the dreams that you've always had that you want to accomplish in ministry? Let's get them done. That would mean that guy would step away from our team, which is something that I'm trying to fight against. But at the same time, I'm having these conversations that are opening the door for our team to feel comfortable to come and share with me. Okay. Because here's the thing, you say a lot about the way that you launch somebody out, right? Let's say that somebody came and talked to you. Hey, I feel like God might be moving me somewhere else. And you're like, oh, really? Then you know what? Give me your 2 weeks and you're out of here. Okay. Do you not think that the rest of your team is going to know that you did that? Like, it will be obvious to them that you dismissed them when he came and talked to you. And so now, who's going to want to talk to you after that? Nobody is. So the door needs to be open. Their relationships need to be friendly and family enough, like family oriented enough, to where when people feel like they might be wanting to exit, they can come have the conversation with you. And I say it in our meetings all the time. Hey guys, how are you feeling? Any of you, if any of you need to depart, if any of you feel like God might be calling you to somewhere else, would you help me help you? Would you allow me to help you? And so just tell me, come and talk to me. And so we've had those conversations. Here's another thing. The way you treat people as they exit, there's another area here that, a lot of times if we know that somebody's not working, I'm not going to keep them in a role because I don't have somebody else to fill it. Like, that's just not fair to the person that's there doing the role. I want to be as honest, as open with that person as possible. But then you would say, yeah, but then we wouldn't have anybody to lead worship there. So I got to wait to tell this guy until I have somebody else to fill his role. That's wrong. The responsibility to fill that role is on me, not on him. Like, he needs to go and plan his future. So I would say, hey man, this is honestly not working. And your campus pastor and myself, we feel like, it might be best for you to move on. So here, you have plenty of time to go and figure this out. Just do it. I'm not going to wait and give them a 2-week notice when I have somebody else already coming in. So being honest, valuing the person over the job they're doing for you. Very, very important. Sorry, I just got stuck on that one because it's a big deal. Here's B. Part of keeping your team members might be moving their seat on the bus. So there's some options in multi-site organizations that you would normally not have in a single site, right? So I could get a guy who's having a struggle with, or a frustration or an issue, and they want to leave because of something that's happening in their campus. I could go, yo, before you leave, hold on. What if we move you to a different campus? And they're like, well, actually, that'll be great because I've really been struggling with blah, 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 blah. So you have options in multi-site to add longevity to your team. So get creative with a multi-site network and see what other options there are. Here's another one. Help launch those who decide to leave. And I already covered this, but basically when someone decides to leave your team, you say a lot by the way you help them launch out. So others on your team are watching how you approach this and how you react to the situation. Be kind, be generous, be helpful, and be encouraging as team members leave. Share your deep love for them publicly. Let everybody know how much you love them and send them off as part of the family who you will dearly miss. Again, their exit is not a betrayal. Okay, so you need to kind of put your big boy pants on. People are not always going to stick with you or what's happening. And that's not a personal thing. God is guiding people differently. And just because you feel so strongly about what you're doing doesn't mean that they have to feel the same. And sometimes hearts change. And that's actually better for the ministry because the impact that you've had on that person's life is now going to go out. And that impact is going to be, is going to be handed down into others in different ministries. So God is actually expanding your influence. And so just be okay as people exit. And, I'm big on sharing how much I love somebody, even when we are the ones initiating the change. When we're the ones initiating the change, literally, I have a guy who I let go a couple of years ago. And it was like hey man, this is just not working. I love you. Take the time that you need to move on. Here's what's going to happen. Yada, yada, yada. We talked through all of that. Well, that guy and I, we're like super great friends. And like we meet for lunch, like constantly. And so there's no reason why you have to, undo your relationship just because you're trying to run a ministry. Your relationship with people is first. Learn, yeah, right? What's the greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second one is like it. It's to love your neighbor as yourself. Treat people with dignity. Treat them with love. Treat them with appreciation. Even when the conversations are difficult, be honest, but be loving. I always say that people might accuse me of being too honest, but they can never accuse me of being dishonest. Okay, because I always tell them exactly how I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and how the process and the progress of their position is going to be, because I want them to be aware and I want them to grow and I want our relationship to always be very upfront. Okay, so all right, I'm going to move on from that one, but as you can tell, I'm very passionate about that. All right, so the third thing there was, as an employee, MultiSite Ministry is an employee retention program. Here's the last thing. Oh wait, where am I? Yeah, MultiSite Ministry requires a new way of thinking about ministry. And the first thing about this is you got to determine your model. So is it a player coach model, or are you still leading? So basically, player coach would be you are still leading worship at a campus and you're responsible for all the stuff that's happening in that campus. Plus, you are developing all these other worship leaders and you have the responsibility for the network. That is our model. Our pastor feels that it's better to still be in the game as a player when you're going to coach, because then that way you kind of understand what everybody's going through. I actually appreciate that. I love being a player and I love being a coach. Okay, so the player coach model is what we do, but other churches choose to do just a solely coach model. So you're either a player, you're on the field, you're a worship pastor, or you are the coach and you solely care for the network. So in our model, again, I'm doing both and I love it. I think it's one of the greatest privileges that I have. But I will tell you, it's not easy, because in some ways, your mind and your heart and what you're trying to do is a little bit split between two things, which leads me to the next thing. You need to release things you love that others can do so that you can focus on things that only you can do. Okay. So you got to release things you love that others can do so that you can focus on things that only you can do. And I will say that Dr. Chuck Lewis is one of the greatest examples in my life of giving away your platform and giving away your the things that you love to do so that others can develop. And I've learned that in my ministry. I learned that from him, and I've applied it into the ministry where I'm releasing some of the things that I love to do. Okay, I love to sing. I love to play piano. I love to play guitar. I love to do all these things, but I have other people helping me in all those areas, and I'm giving them real leadership opportunities on platforms and on our big platforms so that I can focus on the thing that only I can really do. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the only person that could ever do it, but I'm the only person hired right now by our church and commissioned by our church to lead this multi-site ministry. So that's something that's been given to me only. Well, I want to make sure that I'm placing the attention necessary on that I'm discipling these guys. Look, we have 13 worship pastors. It's about to be 14. Okay, what we just partnered with another church. They're becoming family church. So we're going to launch in February of 2023. Well, guys, when you get to 14, 15 churches, first of all, when I'm trying to meet with all my guys for lunch at least once a week, here's the interesting thing about that. I will meet with each one of them at most 3 to potentially 4 times in a year, because one a week, right? If you're thinking just 12 will make it that's a whole quarter of the year, So you only get to meet with these folks sporadically, but what I'm doing is I'm meeting with them. I'm pouring all that I can with them. We see each other every week on in our worship staff meeting, but I'm making sure that I'm spending the time necessary to lead these men and women into leading people well. It is my responsibility. Okay, nobody else can do that. Now, who can arrange the music for Sunday? Okay, who can help me plan worship? Who can execute on a planning center and putting planning center together? Who can execute on leading the band and rehearsing them? I have people that are extremely gifted who can do that kind of stuff. Okay, but I have to focus on the things that the church has placed on me as my main responsibility. So release those things that you love, that others can do, so that you can focus on things that only you can do. And here's another thing, and it's different about multi-site ministry, is that your duty is to support the campuses and worship leaders, not just your own platform. This means that you do not keep the best instrumentalists, the best singers, the best band members. Rather, you launch those out to the campuses and continue to develop people to fill other roles in the future. You are not developing people only for your platform. You're developing people for all platforms. And so this is easier for me to understand as the leader, because I carry the weight of this, than it is for my guys in the different campuses to understand. So a lot of them are very, and rightfully so, I understand, they are very jealous of their people, right? They're like, whoa, don't, I need them. No, don't you dare, don't. But like for me as the leader, I'm developing people here at the downtown campus that I'm going to send out. My best drummers, my best guitar players, my best pianists. I'm thinking of the network. I'm thinking like, hey, I'm going to develop this guy so that when such and such person needs a musical director, I'm sending them over there. Hey, this singer right here, this is the singer that's going to go over there and lead worship at blah, blah, blah. And so I've even developed, a little bit of what we call the associateship program. So basically I had a musical director that was full-time right next to me, a guy that I love with all my heart, who's a dear friend. His name is Tyler Williams. And Tyler served with me for like 9 years, 8 or 9 years, some of the best times in ministry. Well, when he left, I had an opportunity to rethink the ministry. How am I going to do this? Look, if you have 12 or 13 worship leaders and each one of them take 2 weeks of vacation, guess how many weeks you're replacing a year? 24, 26, 28, 30 weeks a year? Who's going to cover? So I decided to take his salary, split it in three, and I hired these like young, inexperienced, but very talented associates, three of them that come around me. They lead with me, 2 times out of the month, and then they go and lead at another campus 1 time out of the month, and then they have a week off. And so these guys are able to, replace a worship leader when they're sick or when they have left. They're able to lead for me when I'm out. They help me lead worship. I pour into them. What's one of the things that we do all the time? Going back to our first point, one of the things that every single person in our team has to go through is Bible doctrine. So we use the Wayne Grudem book, the Bible doctrine, not the systematic theology. You know the difference. So, and we go through Bible doctrine with every single new worship leader on our team. And actually, we even invite some of our musical directors and band members for those that want to join. So like right now, I'm going through it with one worship leader, 2 musical directors, 1 keyboardist that wanted to come for it, and my assistant who wants to learn more about Jesus. So like we go through systematic theology because I want to give these guys and gals an opportunity to understand, the doctrines that are in scripture. And these are all ways and things that I never thought about before. But when you do multi-site ministry, how are you going to duplicate yourself into others? Well, first of all, you got to give them a strong foundation biblically, right? They got to understand the most important doctrines of the faith, but they also got to understand who you are. So I keep them in proximity, these associates. They learn from me. They go to other campuses. They get to experience what it is going to another campus. And the role is only a 1.5 to 2-year role. After 24 months, this role, they can't serve here anymore. They either have to go to another church, they have to just serve here, volunteer, or they have to take over a location for us. So multi-site ministry, first of all, discipleship program. It is a recruitment program. It is an employee retention program. And it is a ministry that requires a new way of thinking.